Good morning. It is 7:07 a.m. on Monday, September 13th, 2021. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. For whatever reason, Rocket felt like he needed to wake up earlier today, so he nudged me awake at about 5 a.m., which is an hour before my alarm would otherwise go off. And fortunately, I was able to, persuade him. It's like, you know what? I understand that little puppy bodies have urges and needs, but generally speaking, I want to try to at least have him wait until the alarm goes off. But it meant that that last hour was a little bit less restful than it might have been otherwise. But I'm doing okay. Doing okay. And he's fine. It's like if it was really urgent, we would have come out. But when it's just sort of a generic, I'm ready to get up now. You should be too. It's tricky too with dogs, just because sometimes you of course you don't want them to be bored or lonely or whatever. But when they want your attention and they do things to get that attention, it's a dilemma, right? Because on the one hand, the things that they're doing to get the attention are probably things that you don't really want them to do all the time. But if you give them the attention so that they'll stop doing it, they're going to just learn that that's how they get your attention. It's tricky. But he's still an awfully good boy, and we're going to go to doggy daycare today, and yeah, he's very sweet. Let's see, what did I do yesterday? We finally had the rescheduled third session of my Avatar Legends campaign. And that was a lot of fun. I didn't mention it yesterday, but on Saturday, I had the second session of a 3-part Masks campaign, and that was fun too. Getting a little bit more playtime in with these Powered by the Apocalypse games, because I definitely want to have a better handle on how those games run and what's fun about them. And certainly I'm, enjoying my time with them so far. That's pretty good. I also decided, based on kind of a confluence of different coincidences, to rewatch Mad Max Fury Road yesterday. In particular, Film Crit Hulk recently did a video about how great Mad Max Fury Road is. And Mikey Newman, who also does film video essays, is doing a Tournament of Champions sort of thing on his Patreon, where he's talking about, doing a March Madness style bracket for all of his top 5 picks from the last several years, and Mad Max Fury Road is one of those listed. And Unspooled, which is a film podcast, is going to be talking about Mad Max Fury Road this week. So I just, hey, I've seen that one several times. I don't necessarily need to rewatch it just to remember details about it, but I enjoyed myself nonetheless. And one of the things that really stood out to me this time is the action sequences are so good at having a continuously evolving situation wherein it's easy, and I directly connect this to role-playing games, especially ones that I run as a dungeon master or game master, because it's very easy with a game like Dungeons and Dragons to have fights be, I rolled a hit with my sword, okay, you hit. I roll to hit someone else rolls to hit with their sword. Well, they miss. I cast my spell. Oh, well, it works. And they lose hit points. And you cast your spell and it misses. And then they attack you. And then we can move on. And you just it becomes just a hit point attrition. Everyone's pressing their button that they have from their character sheet. And then, everyone keeps pressing their respective buttons until one of the sides falls down. It's very easy to run Dungeons and Dragons that way. And I think that it's off because it's more difficult to try to make it more elaborate. Goodness, that yawn came out of nowhere. That I think a lot of fights can sometimes settle down into that. And in fact, even in movies or TV shows, you can have fights be like that also, where you just have the two sides kind of punching each other until you decide that one of them has been punched too much and has to lie down. Um, but what Mad Max Fury Road does that's so great, and one of the best sequences to sort of highlight this, I think, is the scene where Max is still chained to Nux, and he is just caught up with the war rig and has just seen Furiosa and the wives, and that whole initial fight between Max and Furiosa. Because the thing about it is, every single exchange in that fight changes the situation in some way. And not just even every exchange, but every little thing that someone does. Whether it's, um, you know, uh, uh, gosh, I'm suddenly, it's Furiosa making a run for the truck while Max tries to chase after her, but then the wives pull on the chain um, uh, that connects him to Nux, and so he's pulled backwards, and so Furiosa does get to the truck where there is a hidden gun. So now she has a gun in play, and I'm not doing well at just repeating the beats off the top of my head, but if you watch it, watch how every action taken by any character matters, whether they accomplished what they were trying to do or not. And because no matter whether they accomplish it or not, the situation is changed afterwards. It's not just, oh, well, you missed, next turn. And so I think that's a good lesson to try to learn from for people who run role playing games. And, sometimes this is called fail forward because it highlights the idea of let's not have a miss rolled just mean nothing happens, because that's boring. So better is if even when you miss, the miss happens because of something in the scene that changes the circumstances in some way. And likewise, when you hit, this change, the impact is not merely the reduction of hit points on the other side, but some other change, like you knock them backwards and they drop their weapon, or they or they stumble forward and they are off balance, but then they manage to grab hold of this curtain, pulling the curtains down, and they start to catch fire. Things that keep the battlefield changing. In any case, that's what I was thinking about today, and so I'll leave it there until I talk to you tomorrow for 5 more minutes.